In this episode of Spooky Coop, we take a hilarious look at the famous Jackalope cryptid, followed by the legend of two ghostly brothers who haunt a lake in upstate New York. Finally, we finish with a discussion of Jimmy Carter's UFO encounter and the nature of alien technology. Hi everyone, I'm Paul.
And I'm Michelle.
And you're in
The
Spooky Coop.
Welcome to the Spooky Coop. Hope you're not chicken.
Hello, Michelle.
Hey, Paul.
How you doing?
I am fantastic.
Wonderful to hear. That's great news.
How are you?
I'm doing fabulous.
Awesome.
And you know what I have here today with me?
An elephant in your pocket?
No.
A rhino inside your earlobe?
No. I have the most...
Oh, you weren't going to let me finish guessing?
Go ahead.
A giraffe on top of your head?
No.
I can see it. Go ahead.
I won't ask what you've been eating. I have...
Thai food.
A story about the most terrifying, the most scary, the most awful and horrendous
Our taxes.
In history, next to our taxes. I have a story about the jackalope, one of the most feared cryptids in history.
Oh, my God.
A fearful, monstrous creature with antlers like a deer and the body of a bunny rabbit.
Count to 5. 1.
Yes, and I have here some background on it. The
All right.
first sighting of the jackalope was in 1829 by John Coulter, a member of the Lewis and Clark expedition team near Douglas, Wyoming.
Oh, seriously.
And ever since then, the jackalope haunts that land.
Are you sure it's not jackaloped?
No.
Okay.
I mean, yes.
And you're wondering what I ate for dinner.
I have a note here on the background of the jackalope posted by the Washington Park Service on April 1st, 2016.
I see. April
the date
1st.
is a hint.
Okay.
The jackalope is extremely rare and unfortunately rumored to be extinct. In scarce and special occurrences, visitors to Washington state parks have reported witnessing herds of jackalope grazing and hopping through the eastern side of the state. Known for their aggressive tendencies, park visitors are advised to keep a safe distance from these animals and to report sightings to the park ranger.
I see.
Their diet
How
includes...
many mushrooms grow in that park?
I don't know. You're referring to the magic kind, I'm sure.
Uh-huh. And their friends, the exotic kind.
California is just to the south. All routes lead along that coastline. Their diet includes dandelions, huckleberries, hot dogs, and s'mores.
S'mores?
S'mores.
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 That means hot dogs.
Yes.
Hot dogs.
These agile, opportunistic, and crude animals have the ability to mimic a campground chatter and will attack if cornered or provoked. Also known as the warrior rabbit, these antlered species of rabbit come out of hibernation in early spring. Native to the American West, jackalopes are most commonly sighted in the states of Colorado, Wyoming, and Nebraska.
Where people are very, very, very tired while they're camping.
Why are they tired?
I don't know. They walked a long way?
Oh, dear.
I don't know. I thought you might have the punchline.
The town of Douglas, Wyoming, has declared itself to be the jackalope capital of America because the first jackalope was encountered there by John Coulter on April 1st, 1829.
He caught the first jackalope.
Recent sightings, like that by April Fool's Day, spelt P-H-O-O-L-S-D-A-E, at Riverside State Park have indicated increasing population.
Is that John April Fool's Day?
have indicated increasing populations in the Columbia Plateau. The Washington State Parks Foundation received several reports of jackalope sightings last spring at Steamboat Rock, Riverside, and Steptoe Butte State Park.
And at the
Say
local
that 3
dispensary.
times quickly. Next to the dispensary. According to reports, jackalopes are very shy unless approached. If you encounter a jackalope unexpectedly, quickly fall to the ground, remain calm, and hum the Roy Rogers song, Happy Trails to You.
Happy trails to you.
If you happen to snap a photo of a jackalope in the wild, please send it to us via our free state park photo contest. We'd love to see it.
Or send it to us. We'd love to see it.
Yes, send it to spookycoop@gmail.com.
That's right.
And this leads me to my wonderful and fabulous story. That
There was something to it, huh?
There is something to it. This was just
thought
the intro. Are you kidding me? Bob and Elaine sent us this
Bob wanted
story.
nothing to do with it, but she shoved his name on it anyway.
He's part of the story, like it or not.
Yeah, she's listening with headphones.
Bob and Elaine, boy and girlfriend, were home from college over summer many years ago in Wyoming. They had decided to take a hike in the wilderness, one of their favorite trails, in late June. They set out on Saturday to a favorite trail in the early morning, and the trail was approximately a 3-hour round trip,
Okay.
giving themselves lots of time to relax and enjoy nature along the way. Just after the halfway point, they're walking along the trail with a hill on the left side of them, a forest on the right, and it's a little bit wider where they're coming out. It's sort of a clearing. And suddenly, a coyote appears on the trail about 40 feet in front of them. They stop. They hear noises in the bushes in the forest to the right of them.
It's probably the coyote.
No, it's standing in front of them.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. And as they hear this rustling, it's like racing around, shuffling and animal noises. And they're fearful because it's getting louder and more boisterous.
Probably what the coyote was running away from.
No, coyote
Okay.
was just sitting there,
Oh,
staring
I thought it was
at
standing.
them. No,
Okay.
it was staring them down.
Okay.
Then, out of the bushes, jumps a rabbit with horns
Oh, no.
and darts
You're serious.
straight at them. And as it's jumping towards them, a
This
coyote
ain't no Easter bunny.
comes out of the forest, the bushes behind the killer bunny.
Ooh.
Elaine grabs Bob, screams, "Jackalope!" and turns to run up the hill to their left.
Are you serious?
Yep, the top
She
of the
run-
hill was not far away. First thing that came to mind, Jackalope, run like hell.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, she starts running up the hill, and in her mind she's thinking if she and Bob can get to the top of the hill,
hop top?
the hop top, they can flank the other coyote and escape the killer bunny, Jackalope, and
my
the 2
God.
coyotes. Terrifying.
Look at the fangs.
Look at the fangs. He'll rip your throat out. He's a killer bunny. Bob falls halfway
the
up
holy
the
hand
hill.
grenade of Antioch.
Bob
fell.
falls halfway up the hill.
Uh-huh.
Elaine tries to grab him but slips herself. She falls partway on him and looks down the hill at the jackalope barreling up at them. She screams as loud as she can, and the killer bunny and the antelope-type ears veer to the right, and it runs over the top of the hill and disappears.
The bunny or her?
The bunny.
Oh, okay.
They are frozen on the hill. She's halfway on top of Bob. Bob's face planted. She's turned around to see what's coming.
Where's the coyote?
This is the next part.
Okay.
Elaine looks down the hill, and she sees now, after looking back up at the bunny disappearing, that the coyote is still in hot pursuit.
Of-
More than that, behind that coyote is the other coyote.
Hopefully they're after the bunny.
Bob manages to see them, both of them, and he screams too. Flailing, they're both trying to get their pepper spray out.
Uh-huh.
But it's too late. Amidst the screaming,
Rabbit must be good with a little salt and pepper.
amidst the screaming and the flailing for pepper spray and the hibachi sauce, the first coyote also veers to the right at the last second. And the second coyote, coming at a slight angle from the left to their right, does not veer but jumps over top.
Of them?
Of them. Bob said he never knew a coyote could jump that high and that far.
But they were after the jackalope.
And boy, was he grateful. And the coyotes disappear over the top of the hill and into the horizon.
Yeah.
They look at each other. The
And they
shock,
say, I'm going after that dealer. I'm never buying from him again.
the shock kick, their adrenaline now is they're ready to rumble here. They get up and they start to hurry down the hill. As they do, Bob stumbles.
Oh no! He twisted his knee in a jackalope hole.
Elaine tries to grab him, to catch him, but he's too big, and she stumbles down with him. And they tumble a few feet, and they finally settle, and they get up again, and they finally get to the bottom of the hill and proceed to run as fast as they can to the trailhead. After about a mile of running, Elaine says they slowed down, they caught their breath, and talked about what happened. They both agreed they would research this before they told anybody, and sounded like complete fools.
Before she sent us this letter and sounded like...
Yes, this was some time ago. And it's worth it.
Okay.
She said, thank God they did research it, because they believe they solved their cryptid mystery.
Oh, you mean this rabbit was a real cryptid?
This was an actual creature with
Seriously?
horns.
Oh, yeah?
It turns out Jackalope syndrome is a condition that causes rabbits to grow tumors that resemble horns or antlers, making them look like the mythical jackalope. The condition is caused by the Shope papilloma virus, SPV, also known as the cottontail rabbit papilloma virus, CRPV. With a little bit of Italian sauce, it's delicious at dinner time, making them look like the mythical jackalope.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a common...
Get pictures of that up on our Instagram and TikTok.
They're ugly looking, I'll tell you. There's pictures out there.
Then they can look it up themselves.
Yes, SPV and CRPV are common wart-like diseases in rabbits. The virus causes keratinous tumors to grow on the rabbit's head and body, often in shaggy clumps that look like dreadlocks or horns. That's the Jamaican version of the jackalope.
I see.
In short, we refer to Bob and Elaine as the Jack and Jill story. And I found that if you just swap Jack and Jill for Bob and Elaine, you get the short form version of this story. Jack and Jill ran up the hill with the jackalope running behind them. Jack fell down, and Jill spun around to face the jackalope charging. The jackalope veered right. Jill screamed at the sight. As the jackalope disappeared from view, they both turned when they heard a sound and saw the coyotes coming after. Once they were free, Jack and Jill did flee. They both ran down. Jack fell to the ground, and Jill came tumbling after.
Oh my God. and these bunnies with horns, that's a real thing.
Eat your heart out, all of you paranormal researchers. We got the story of 2025 right here.
Right. And so much for Barnum and Bailey. Wow, that's good.
So, my dear,
I have to tell a horror story now.
Now you're going to tell a horror story. You're going to switch the whole mood around.
Ooh, there are no horn bunnies in my story. Okay, here's a story that goes back quite a while. Goes back to the Industrial Revolution, all right? Way back in New York, upstate New York. Okay, around somewhere in the early 1800s, or the 1800 and something, okay? Now, there's a guy who was working down there. And I got this story this story sort of comes down, it's sort of one of those stories you hear. Mm-hmm. And it came down and down and down till finally it came our way. So this guy's walking home from work. He works second shift in a factory, and it's about 2 a.m. Mm-hmm. And he always walked, because this is way back when, taking a trolley car, or nobody owned cars. They were way too expensive. I don't even know if they were common. People rode in wagons with horses back then. And even that was expensive for somebody who worked second shift in a factory.
Right.
And so he walked home. It was a few miles every day, a few miles back, a few miles forth every day. He'd walk back 2 o'clock in the morning, all by himself usually, because, no one else was going that way. One day, he was walking home, and there was a weird mist in the air. And as he was walking, he walks through this area where there was a large rock on his left side. And on that side, this rock was a natural outcropping. Mm-hmm. And there was a hill and a rock. And the hill face and the rock held back some water that made sort of a large pond, small lake.
Right, okay.
And up ahead, he could see that area. Mm-hmm. And he saw shadows of 2 people sitting on the rock. Now, he was wondering what those people were doing out there at 2, somewhere around 2:30, because he got out at 2. And he thought, what are those people doing out there? Maybe they were young lovers or something, because they seemed to be sort of sitting close to each other. Mm-hmm. And as he got closer, he started getting more of an idea of what they looked like, and then he started thinking, those 2 people in this weather must be up to no good. So he started thinking, those are robbers. They're going to rob me.
Right.
And then he started thinking, when they rob me and they see I have nothing at all, I'm a poor man, I have nothing to give them, they might even try to kill me. So he thought to himself, what am I going to do? So he put his hand in his pocket to make it look like he was carrying a big gun or a big pistol, whatever they had back then for firearms, thinking that maybe he could fool them. But when he got closer and the shadow started to resolve itself into something, he saw that the 2 people sitting on the rock were all bloated and looked like they were corpses. And they started to slide down from the rock to get off the rock.
Right.
And they came after him. And they just looked monstrous, like corpses and
bloated zombies.
Well, not zombies, I guess, in the way you'd see on TV. More like they were hideous monstrosities with, just the tale says they would look like they had been like bloated in the water and drowned, and pieces of them all, rotted off. And so he started to run, and he was screaming and running for help, running as fast as he could. But every time he turned around, they seemed closer, not further away, even though they were walking slowly and seemed to be sloshing as they walked. But no matter how fast he ran, they seemed to be getting closer and closer. Finally, he kept running until he had a stitch in his side, and he couldn't catch his breath. And he ran as far as he could before he thought he was going to collapse. And then he turned around, and they were gone.
Wow.
And he didn't know what happened. Why were they gone? And he looked around, thinking, did I really see them? And he fell on his knees, and he gave thanks to God, because, that's what he did. And then he made his way back home. So when he gets home, he tells the family what happened. And his father was there, and his father said, you were chased by the ghost of the 2 young men who drowned themselves in the pond. They're cursed forever to be ghosts in the pond. And he said, what do you mean? And he said, when I was a very young man, there were 2 men who lived in the village, and they refused to marry the women who were chosen for them by their parents. I guess this was a time when there was arranged marriages in the area. I don't know who what.
Maybe Mormons.
not in upstate. Well, maybe in upstate New York. I don't know, but there were, or maybe not. Maybe they could have been any immigrants. Regardless, they were from an immigrant family that chose. And this was, remember, this was the early 1800s. So the generation before him would have been the late 17 something.
Right.
So he said the two men refused to marry the girls that were chosen for them. Mm-hmm. And so instead, they made a suicide pact, and they jumped off that rock into the deep water behind it. They loaded themselves up with stones, jumped off that rock into the deep water behind it, and drowned themselves.
So this is water and swampy area?
Yeah, something like that.
So they became Swamp Thing 1 and Swamp Thing 2.
Anyway, so now on certain nights when the conditions are just right, supposedly their ghosts will come out and try to drag whoever is there into the swamp or into the pond. But his father told him, once you get past the watermark on that road, they stop. So apparently where he finally had to stop because he was out of breath, he was past the point where the road was along the side of the water.
That would be terrifying for an apparition or apparitions like that to come out. We have experienced being touched, pushed, and had parts of our bodies manipulated in ways that defied gravity.
Talking about defying gravity, we've had things thrown at us. I've had my legs lifted off of a chair vertically when I was resting in a prone position. Mm-hmm. So we know that ghosts can affect physical matter. I bet you most of the people listening to this may have had one of those things where if their house or something is haunted around them, be lying in bed and then feel like someone comes and sits on the bed next to them. Mm-hmm. That's a very common way ghosts let you know they're there. You feel like all of a sudden the mattress goes down like someone's sitting on it. Or animals sit down and stare at walls or bark at something that's not there, and you feel like, I thought there was something there.
Yeah, that's a little unnerving when we have a lot of animals in our house, and once in a while they'll just sit there and stare at something, and we'll know somebody's come to visit. We're not quite sure who at first.
But you got 6 dogs all staring at a blank wall.
So, my dear, I thought we would finish off this episode.
Oh no, you found another jackalope.
No, I did not. But as we all know, Jimmy Carter...
You found a musclelope.
You do everything to derail me and the tremendous drama I try to deliver to this podcast for our listeners. It's hopeless. President Jimmy Carter passed away this week, and in honor of him, and as it is relevant to our podcast, I thought that I would briefly talk about his UFO encounter that he experienced one evening in 1969. 2 years before he became governor of Georgia. He was preparing a speech at the Lions Club meeting, and he reported that at about 7:15 p.m., one of the guests called his attention to a strange bright white object, about as bright as the moon, and about 30 degrees above the horizon to the west where they were standing. It moved toward their direction, but stopped beyond a stand of pine trees some distance from them. The object then changed color, first to blue, then to red, then back to white, before appearing to recede into the distance. Carter felt that the object was self-illuminated and not solid in nature. Carter's report indicates that it was witnessed by about 10 or 12 other people and was in view for 10 to 12 minutes before it passed out of sight. Then later, in 1973, this is 4 years later, he reiterated, there were about 20 of us standing outside of a little restaurant. I believe a high school lunchroom and a kind of green light appeared in the western sky. This was right after sundown. It got brighter and brighter, and then it eventually disappeared, It didn't have any solid substance to it. It was just a very peculiar-looking light. None of us could understand what it was. And then next, in a 2005 interview, you can hear the...
Yeah, it's going...
As it evolves, right? He says, all of a sudden, one of the men looked up and said, "Look, over in the west." And there was a bright light in the sky. We all saw it. And then the light, it got closer and closer to us. And then it stopped. I don't know how far away, but it stopped beyond the pine trees. And all of a sudden it changed color to blue, and then it changed to red, then back to white. And we were trying to figure out what in the world it could be. And then it receded into the distance. Now, high-profile people back in that period
would be very careful.
Right?
You want to be president, you don't talk about this stuff generally.
Yeah, this was a couple of years before he became governor. 2 years before he became governor that he saw this. And,
not the 2000 one.
No, those were comments after the fact.
After.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, and how his comments evolved in public, and what they the times that he reported about it and how he reported it when speaking in public. And of course, now we have at the time ufologist Robert Schaefer concluded the object was misidentified as Venus.
No, Venus doesn't change color and then leave.
That's right. Carl G. Justus, forgive me for mispronouncing the name, Carl G. Justus, he gave an explanation for the sighting as a type of chemical clouds composed notably of sodium and barium that they used to disperse. This sounds very much like a swamp gas explanation to me.
Reflecting off the bottom of geese flying south for the winter.
This is what, back when we were kids, how people...
Oh, you're dating us.
...talked about...
I was a little younger then.
Yes, me too. Just a little bit.
People
would explain away everything. They would never, ever dare
Do you think he was an abductee?
I do.
Or a contactee?
I do, though I have no memory of ever meeting him on shipboard.
A contactalope.
A contactalope. He never bore antlers. But the difference between then and now is remarkable. Within the space of 30, 40 years, 69, 30s, 50 years. I'm dating myself with my slow math in my head. We're now seeing video, Air Force video of objects, UFOs, the Tic Tac being chased, videoed, and tracked by radar across the ocean at high speed.
Or drones that are not drones.
Drones that are not drones. And there's always this half and half. One half saying this is what we've got, and another half saying it could not, may not, likely isn't aliens, it's something else.
Or you got the crowd that says, of course it's a UFO, but nobody's driving it.
That's right. Sometimes there's the argument, and this is a new one, and I hand it to somebody who actually suggested this, that they were craft that were piloted by AI.
AI?
Artificial intelligence.
Yeah,
or that
Ian Alberts.
That is a viable theory. And it is, in fact, partially true.
Well, you know what, though?
Because you and I know that all of their stuff have a level of self-awareness, artificial intelligence.
Yes.
This runs from their tools to the tiny little orbs that fly around. But also, it is not that simple. There also are beings, living organic beings, aliens, piloting these craft. And they are smart, and that is why they have artificial intelligence.
That's not really a new concept. It's just a new wording of an old concept, because now we have words for it. They say that you cannot, a lot of people, or in general, a society cannot talk about something until they have a word to label it.
Yes. And
even back in the 80s, and in the 90s, people were talking about the fact that some people believed that the alien ships were run by, quote, mega computers that were aware of what they were doing, like the ships were alive. they were saying they're machines that are alive. That's how they put it. They're actually machines with no organs, with no being, with they're actually machines, but somehow they're alive. Somehow they can think for themselves.
That's true. That concept was alive.
Yeah.
The whole idea of artificial intelligence was alive back then, but we didn't have a common
name for it. There was no
acronym
common
or moniker to
acronym.
describe it. Yeah.
Right, because when you don't have a label, it's very hard to understand a concept. Like a jackalope.
And even then, it still can be very difficult.
You're going to hear that for the rest of your life.
I wear the moniker proudly.
I got to get you a
He that
shirt.
bore thee.
I got to get you a shirt that says, Jackalopes are real. Aliens, jackalopes are real.
Everything else we're not sure about.
I'm going
but the jackalopes
to have to
we know
get
are
you a
real.
shirt with a gray alien with jackalope ears.
Hey, that's a great idea. We can wear them the next time we're picked up.
Yeah.
We'll wear them to bed. Anyway. Anyway, folks, thank you very much for joining us this week.
Oh, yeah.
On the Spooky Coop.
You always make it worthwhile. We do it for you guys.
We do.
Yeah, because we can have these crazy conversations. Crazy conversation. Never mind.
Please like and follow us. It's how we grow the channel.
Yeah, we have our internet mediums everywhere now, huh? We
Yes.
have Instagram. We have...
Blue Sky.
Yeah.
We have X, formerly known as Twitter.
Hopefully known as Twitter again someday. And I have YouTube. Maybe by the time you hear this, we'll actually have YouTube going.
Yes, our YouTube channel will be slightly more visual, not just audio in nature, and will provide further, more expanded graphics and images for you to be able to sit down and watch while you're knitting or doing whatever else.
Knitting. You think everybody who's listening to this knits?
No,
Okay.
but it's playing your video game. I don't know. Whatever you do, you'll enjoy this.
I don't know why knitting
It'll be
came up.
great. I suppose it's because I've seen you knit and watch YouTube.
Oh, I see.
You are the center of my life, my dear.
So anyway, the thing is...
Please like us. Please subscribe. It's how we grow the channel.
Subscribe to our YouTube when I finally get it running. I got 3 episodes ready to put up. But when we do get it running, because we will be doing live events there.
I have produced a graphic of a microphone with a great dew of hair that I'm going to put over my face when we do live.
You'll be cousin it.
I am not looking forward. That's why we did a podcast. Nobody gets to see our face. Nobody has to
come on.
endure seeing our face. Also, what was that? Where were we? I asked people to subscribe and follow us. It's how we grow the channel.
Follow all our social media.
Yes. If you have a story that you'd like to share with us, please email it to sendittospookycoop@gmail.com. Send it to spookycoop@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your story. We'll keep your confidentiality. However the story sounds, it always begs for conversation around the event. And that's what we want, is discussion about these things, so that we can explore them in more depth and from different angles. So please feel free to send them in.
Yeah, and if you have anything that you think would be entertaining, any experience you've had that you might think people would love to hear about, that maybe it's not like, oh, but it's like, wow.
You have the most descriptive English I think I've ever heard from anybody, my
I'm
love.
trying to invent new words for concepts.
All of that now said, we wish you a week of hope and wonder. Until next time, when we see you in the Spooky Coop.